Picture this moment. You're sitting on a train, the doors have closed, the engine is running, and suddenly your heart drops. This isn't your train. This route doesn't go where you need to go. But the train is already moving. People around you seem comfortable, settled, sure of their journey. And you think, maybe I should just stay quiet. Maybe I should pretend everything is fine. Maybe if I ride long enough, I'll find a way to make this work. Welcome to Coffee English. I'm here to share something with you today that goes far beyond grammar rules and vocabulary lists. What we're about to explore together will touch something deeper inside you. Something true. Today's episode is called The Wrong Train: Why Getting Off is Harder Than Staying On. And yes, we'll practice English together. You'll learn phrases and expressions that native speakers use. But more than that, we'll talk about courage. We'll talk about the moment when you realize you're living someone else's life, speaking someone else's words, following someone else's dream. And we'll talk about what it takes to stand up and say, I need to get off this train. This conversation matters for your English because the words we use to talk about life choices are some of the most powerful words in any language. And it matters for your life because maybe, just maybe, you're on the wrong train right now. Maybe in your career, maybe in your relationships, maybe even in how you're learning English. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Think about a moment when you knew something was wrong but you kept going anyway. When you stayed silent even though your heart was screaming. If you feel comfortable, share your story in the comments. Not for me. For someone else who needs to know they're not alone. Your words might be the permission someone else needs to finally pull that emergency brake. Are you ready? Let's begin this journey together. Here's something fascinating that scientists have discovered about human behavior. When we make a choice and invest time or energy into it, our brain does something strange. It starts defending that choice, even when evidence shows it's wrong. Researchers call this the sunk cost fallacy. The more we've invested in the wrong direction, the harder it becomes to admit the mistake and change course. Think about it. A person stays in a job they hate for 5 years, then 10 years, not because the job gets better, but because they've already given it so much time. They think, if I leave now, those 5 years were wasted. So they stay another year, then another, until one day they wake up and 20 years have passed. But here's the truth that changes everything. Those 5 years are already gone. They're in the past. The only question that matters is this: what will you do with the time you still have? Will you spend another 5 years on the wrong train, or will you have the courage to get off today? This pattern appears everywhere in human life. In relationships that ended years ago, but nobody has said the words. In studying methods that don't work, but we keep using them because we've always used them. In dreams we've given up on because we're afraid of what people might think if we try again. And yes, this happens with learning English too. Maybe you've been using the same old methods for years. Grammar books that bore you. Classes that don't match how you actually learn. And you keep going because you've already invested so much time. But time doesn't care about what you've already spent. Time only asks, what will you do next? Let me ask you something right now. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think about your English learning journey. Are you on the right train? Is the method you're using actually taking you where you want to go? Or are you just riding because you're afraid to admit you need a different approach? Keep that thought, we'll come back to it. There's a moment that happens to everyone at some point in life. A moment of brutal, crystal clear honesty. You're sitting there, maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe on an actual train, and suddenly you see the truth. This isn't right. This isn't your path. This isn't your dream. Your stomach tightens, your heart races, because recognition is just the first step, and it's not even the hardest one. The hardest part comes next. What do you do with that recognition? Do you honor it? Or do you push it down, cover it up, and keep pretending everything is fine? Let me tell you about the emergency brake. On trains, there's usually a red handle or a button. It's there for emergencies. When you pull it, everything stops. The train halts. Alarms sound. Everyone looks around, confused, maybe annoyed. And there you are, the person who stopped the journey for everyone. This is why most people never pull it. Not because they don't know they're on the wrong train, but because pulling that brake means everyone will know you made a mistake. Everyone will see that you got on the wrong train. Everyone will wonder what's wrong with you. In English, we have a phrase for this fear. We call it saving face. It means protecting your image, your reputation, your appearance of having everything together. And saving face keeps more people trapped on wrong trains than almost anything else in the world. But here's what nobody tells you about saving face. The face you're saving isn't even yours. It's a mask. It's the version of you that you think other people expect. And while you're busy protecting that mask, your real face, your true self, is suffocating underneath. Now let's talk about something practical, the economics of the wrong train. Every minute you stay on the wrong train costs you in 3 ways. First, there's the time itself, those minutes and hours you'll never get back. Second, there's the opportunity cost. While you're going in the wrong direction, you're missing the chance to go in the right direction. And third, there's the psychological cost, the weight of knowing you're living a lie. Imagine someone who wants to be a teacher but studies accounting because their parents said it was more practical. 4 years of university. Thousands of hours studying numbers when their heart wants to work with children. Then they get a job in accounting. 5 years pass, 10 years, and every day that little voice inside whispers, "This isn't what you wanted." The English language has beautiful words for this feeling. We say someone is going through the motions. It means doing something without heart, without soul, just following the steps. Or we say someone has settled, like dust settling on furniture. They've stopped moving, stopped trying, stopped hoping for something better. But here's the mathematical truth. The longer you travel in the wrong direction, the more expensive your ticket becomes for the journey back. Not just in time or money, but in courage. After 1 year on the wrong path, turning back requires 1 year's worth of courage. After 10 years, it requires 10 years' worth. And yet, people do it. Every single day, people pull that emergency brake. They quit the safe job to start the risky business. They leave the relationship that looks perfect but feels empty. They admit they chose the wrong career and start studying something new at 40 or 50 or 60 years old. Why? Because they finally understand something crucial. The most expensive ticket isn't the one that takes you back to the start. It's the one that takes you all the way to the end of the wrong journey. Let's talk about courage for a moment. What is courage, really? Many people think courage means never being afraid, but that's not courage. That's just not understanding the danger. Real courage is feeling the fear and acting anyway. Real courage is knowing that pulling the emergency brake will be uncomfortable, embarrassing, difficult, and doing it because the alternative is worse. In English, we have an expression, better late than never. It means it's better to do something late than to never do it at all, but I want to add something to that. It's also true that better now than later, better today than tomorrow, better this year than next year. Because here's something nobody wants to admit. Some trains only run once. Some opportunities have expiration dates. Some people won't wait forever. Some dreams get harder to reach with every passing year. Not impossible, just harder. Think about learning English. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I'll get serious about it next year. I'll start speaking when I feel more confident. I'll practice listening when I have more time. But next year comes and you tell yourself the same thing, and the train keeps moving in the wrong direction. Or think about bigger life choices. Maybe there's a person you need to talk to, but you keep waiting for the right moment. Maybe there's a career change you need to make, but you're waiting until you have more savings. Maybe there's a dream you need to pursue, but you're waiting until the conditions are perfect. But the conditions will never be perfect. The right moment will never arrive. The fear will never completely disappear. The only thing that changes is this: today, you still have time. Tomorrow, you'll have a little less. That's the only certainty. Now I want to share something with you that might surprise you. When people finally pull that emergency brake, when they finally admit they're on the wrong train and get off, something unexpected happens. Yes, some people are confused or judgmental, but many others, they feel relieved. Some even feel inspired. Because your honesty gives other people permission to be honest too. Your courage shows them that it's possible to change direction. Your willingness to look foolish for a moment actually makes you look brave. There's an English word I love: authentic. It means real, genuine, true to yourself. And authentic is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can have. People are drawn to authenticity like plants are drawn to sunlight. Because in a world where everyone is pretending, everyone is wearing masks, everyone is on the wrong train but acting like it's fine, the person who tells the truth stands out like a lighthouse in darkness. When you speak English authentically, even with mistakes, even with an accent, even with simple words, people listen. Because they can feel that you're being real. And real always beats perfect. When you live authentically, even if your path looks different from everyone else's, even if you have to start over, even if you have to admit you were wrong, people respect you. Because they can see your courage. And courage always beats comfort. So let's say you've done it. You've pulled the emergency brake. You've gotten off the wrong train. Now what? Now comes the part nobody talks about enough. The waiting, the uncertainty, the standing on the platform wondering if the right train will ever come. This is the space between trains, the gap between the life you left and the life you're trying to build. And this space is uncomfortable. It's scary. It's filled with doubt. You might think, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have stayed on the old train. At least I knew where it was going. At least I was moving somewhere, even if it was the wrong direction. But here's what you need to remember in those moments. Stillness is not the same as going backwards. Standing still while you wait for the right train is not the same as riding the wrong train. There is dignity in pausing. There is wisdom in waiting for what's truly yours. The English language has a beautiful phrase for this. We say someone is finding their bearings. It comes from old navigation terms. Bearings are the directions, the coordinates that tell you where you are and where you're going. When you're finding your bearings, you're not lost. You're just figuring out the map. And while you're standing on that platform, something magical can happen. You start to see other platforms you never noticed before. You start to hear announcements for trains going to places you never knew existed. You start to meet other people who also got off the wrong train, and suddenly you don't feel so alone. This is true for English learning too. Maybe you've been forcing yourself to learn through textbooks when you actually learn better through conversation. Maybe you've been trying to sound like a native speaker when what you really need is just to be understood. Maybe you've been studying formal English when what you need for your life is practical English. Getting off that wrong method, admitting it's not working for you, that's not failure. That's wisdom. And the moment you stop forcing the wrong method, you create space for the right method to appear. Let me share today's phrase with you. It's one that we've been using throughout this episode, and it carries tremendous power. Pull the emergency brake. Literally, this phrase means to activate the emergency stop system on a train. But metaphorically, it means to stop something immediately, even if it causes disruption, because continuing would be dangerous or wrong. You can use this phrase in many situations. I realized I was in the wrong career, so I pulled the emergency brake and quit. Or, the project was heading in a bad direction, so we pulled the emergency brake and reconsidered our approach. There's something important about this phrase. It acknowledges that stopping will cause disruption. The word emergency tells us this is serious. The word brake tells us there will be friction, there will be resistance. But it also tells us that sometimes disruption is necessary. Sometimes friction saves your life. Let me give you a few similar expressions that carry related meanings. Cut your losses means to stop something that's failing before you lose even more. Turn over a new leaf means to make a fresh start and change your behavior. Go back to the drawing board means to start again from the beginning when something doesn't work. But pull the emergency brake is special because it emphasizes the urgency and the courage required. It's not a gentle change, it's a dramatic stop. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. I want you to repeat this phrase after me. Say it out loud if you can. Feel the words in your mouth. Pull the emergency brake. Again, pull the emergency brake. One more time. Pull the emergency brake. Good, now I want you to finish this sentence in your mind. In my life right now, I need to pull the emergency brake on. What's your answer? Hold that answer in your heart. We've traveled far together in this episode. We've talked about wrong trains and emergency brakes, about courage and authenticity, about the cost of continuing and the freedom of honesty. But all of this talk means nothing if you don't apply it to your own life. So let me ask you directly. What train are you on right now that isn't yours? Where in your life are you pretending everything is fine when your heart knows it's not? Maybe it's a relationship that died years ago, but you're still going through the motions. Maybe it's a job that pays well but drains your soul. Maybe it's a way of learning English that doesn't match how you actually think and process information. Maybe it's living in a place that doesn't feel like home. Maybe it's following someone else's dream because you're afraid to admit you have your own. Whatever it is, I want you to know something. Getting off is not giving up. Admitting you're on the wrong train is not the same as admitting you're a failure. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the moment you finally start succeeding at being yourself. The people who stay on wrong trains their entire lives aren't brave. They're just afraid of what others will think. And they end up at destinations they never wanted to reach, wondering how they got there, wondering why they feel so empty even though they did everything right. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have a choice right now. Today, this moment, you can pull the emergency brake. You can stand up even if your legs are shaking. You can say out loud or whisper to yourself, "This isn't my train, I need to get off." And yes, people might stare, they might ask questions, they might think you're crazy. But you know what? Those people are on their own trains. They have their own journeys. Your life is not their business. Their opinions are not your prison. Here's what I want you to do after this episode ends. Take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Write down one thing, just one thing, that you know in your heart is not right for you. One train you're on that isn't yours. You don't have to show anyone. You don't have to make a big announcement. Just write it down. Make it real by putting it into words. And then, if you're ready, write down what pulling the emergency brake would look like. What's the first small step? Not the whole journey back. Not the complete transformation. Just the first step. The moment of stopping. The moment of honesty. Maybe for your English learning, pulling the emergency brake means admitting that you need to speak more and read less. Or that you need to listen to real conversations instead of perfect textbook recordings. Or that you need to stop trying to eliminate your accent and focus on being understood. Maybe in your life, pulling the emergency brake means having an honest conversation you've been avoiding, or updating your resume even though you're scared, or saying no to someone for the first time, or saying yes to yourself for the first time. Whatever it is, the power is in your hands. The emergency brake is within reach. All you have to do is decide that the wrong direction ends today. Thank you for staying with me through this entire episode. I know this wasn't a typical English lesson. We didn't focus on grammar rules or vocabulary lists, but I hope you learned something more important. I hope you learned that English is not just about words and sentences. It's about expressing your truth. It's about having the courage to speak your reality. It's about finding your voice in more ways than one. If this episode touched something in you, if it made you think about your own journey, I'd be grateful if you shared it with someone who might need to hear this message. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is give someone permission to change direction. And please leave a comment below. Tell me about a time you pulled the emergency brake in your life. Or tell me about a train you're still on that you know isn't yours. Your story matters. Your courage matters. And someone reading your words might find the strength they need. Remember, learning English is a journey. And like any journey, the most important thing is making sure you're on the right train. Not someone else's train. Not the train everyone says you should take. Your train, the one going to your destination. This is Coffee English. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage. And thank you for choosing to be authentic even when it's hard. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep checking that you're on your own train. Not because change is always necessary, but because living your truth always is. Safe travels, my friend. And remember, the emergency brake is always there when you need it.